Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this talk on the karma of mind in our ongoing series of karma as part of the 4 ways of changing the mind. And today we move on to the third type of harmful mental karma. And here we're dealing with view, with distorted view. That's our topic today. This is a very, very important topic. One, as always, I invite you to seriously think about in depth, but one that I'm sure you will come back to as the years go by, and you will reassess. You'll appreciate from a fresh point of view its singular importance. Now, in our reflections on what our mind does, karma, action, doing, what it does to us, what it causes us to do to others, its inherent own power. So far, we looked at avarice, desire, attachment, clinging, greed. And then we went on to consider ill will, where we have an aggressive attitude to others, wanting them to harm. These are not very hard to understand. We can probably find something of them in ourselves, so they're very intimately familiar. And we see them at work in the world around us. One pole pulling things to us, holding on to them, clinging, another rejecting, wanting harm to come, wanting to get rid of things, wanting them not to exist as they do, or people. But now this third one is mainly about ignorance. And the Buddha teaches a lot about ignorance in terms of literally not knowing. And of course, we have no idea what we don't know, because we don't know. Our knowledge is limited, our experience is limited, even uplifted spiritual experiences are limited. What's beyond that, what's yet to come? We have no idea at all. So there's that sort of ignorance. There's profound sacred ignorance, where we don't recognize the Buddha within, the true nature of our mind. There's that sort of ignorance. Here we're looking at a more tangible form of ignorance, which is when we could know, should know, but don't know, or when we reject knowledge. When we've encountered the ideas, and we'll see karma, cause and effect, the 4 truths and so on, and we reject them. Now the reason we are going to be thinking about this topic for some time is because it touches the very nerve of everything. It's about view. View is not just about philosophy, philosophical views, this school and that school, something academic. It's not academic. It's about the very way we see life. In an ideal circumstance, we see it, we experience it, we know it as it is. Then we will be in harmony with things. We will act in harmony. And if we've got any sense, we'll be making good karma, helping ourselves and others. But the more our understanding, our whole vision of life and its possibilities and its purpose and so on, the more that goes away from the truth. And in particular, the more it errs away. That lovely word, to err away in the direction of ego delusions. then the more we are out of sync, out of harmony with each other, with life, and the more we are going to damage. Inherently, we're pulling ourselves further away from the inner truths as well as the outer truths. And then through that, we're going to be in a chaotic and a damaging disharmony. That is what we're looking at here, and we're going to look at it in 3 areas. 3 not knowings, or 3 rejections more. That's where we make the karma. When we could know better, we could choose more wisely, and we choose not to. We take ourselves down the wrong road. Now, there's a problem here. And the problem is that when you first hear these 3, they sound so terribly Buddhist, and it can be off-putting. It's like probably what we've come across in other places. If you don't believe in Jesus, then you can't be a Christian. You have to believe the party line of this faith. And so the titles of these 3 topics are very, very Buddhist. And we think, oh, no, here we come down to some kind of religion that says if you don't believe our particular way of presenting things, then you're going to make wrong karma, and so on. It can really seem like that because the terminology is Buddhist, and very often it's quite new to us. So what we have to do, and what this talk is to help you to do, is to get to the bottom of it, so you see what's really going on beyond the terminology. You see it's nothing to do with Buddhism, the religion. It's about life, as it is in 3 key areas which shape the whole way we envision ourselves, we envision life, and because of that, the whole way we manage and conduct our lives. So the first area of wrong view. Now, wrong view, wrong is a word people get upset about. The actual term in Tibetan, lokta. Lok means turned away from, taken the wrong road. We can translate it as aberrant. One has erred. Aberrant. Taken a wrong road. So that wrong road can be a bit wrong, or very wrong, or totally the opposite direction. Aberrant view, literally. I think in everyday speech, many people would say wrong view, distorted view, untrue view. So the first of the 3 areas is about understanding how and why things happen. Karma as cause and consequence. The whole topic that we're going through now in these talks. Consequences, causes. Nothing just happens randomly. Everything happens through reasons. Sometimes the reasons are obvious, sometimes they're not so obvious for us. But everything has its reasons. And turn that round the other way. Once the circumstances come together, then the result must come out. It's like when you strike a match, the chemical on the match head rubs against the other chemical, and the friction, it must catch fire. Causes and effect. This is a teaching, or about a teaching, you'll hear so many times from Tibetan lamas. They say, everyone wants happiness, well-being. Not just happy smiley face. Happiness, as we've had it defined many times in these talks. Long life, good health, having enough resources, having friends, having a good reputation, being in a place of safety, being in a place of plenty, meeting wise people, and so on and so on. The good things of life. We define them differently. Some people prefer music, some people prefer gardens, whatever it is, but the good things of life. Everyone wants them. Ourselves and everyone around us is striving their very best to get happiness. But they find suffering. Something's wrong. Although we understand so much as human beings, this basic alchemy, chemistry, engineering of well-being, of happiness, is not understood. We are so wise, but the bit that's missing is missing because we cannot see from one life to the next. So it doesn't make sense. Or one life to 5 lives later. We can't see, just like when seeds are in the ground, we can't tell what's going to come up next year, what has been planted. Some things sprout quickly, some things grow over many, many years, like a great tree. The Buddha, in his great compassion, kindness, shows us what lies behind life. What explains why, although we can try so hard sometimes to get the fame we want, the riches we want, the companionship we want, it doesn't work. And other people barely seem to try, and it works for them. Karma. Karma. So we're not looking about believing in karma because you signed up as a Buddhist. We are talking about your basic understanding of life all around you. Either you understand how it works or you don't. And if you don't, you're going to make a mess of it. And if you do, you're going to live wisely, you're going to live in a helpful way for others, and you can help them discover the same truths you discovered. So the first aberrant view is that even though we hear about karma, cause and effect, and we hear the key point that doing what we call good, virtuous, helpful things, helping each other, caring for each other, being kind, being generous, and so on, these bring back to their doer, in the long term, well-being, happiness. And that doing the bad things, the harmful things, the non-virtuous karma, where we hurt each other in all sorts of ways, these bring back to the doer in future lives suffering of all sorts, depending on the causes we created. That's the key point. Virtue brings happiness in the long term, non-virtue brings suffering. So we may have heard that, and if through ego, through ignorance, we ignore it, we don't take any notice of it, we don't act in accord with karma, our view doesn't accept it, then our mind is going in a wrong direction, and this will drag with it our body and our speech. The second type of aberrant view is about the 4 great truths, often called the 4 noble truths, but as we've seen in other talks, it really means the 4 truths of noble beings. It's not the truths that are noble, they're the truths that when one becomes an Arya, one realizes fully. Truth of suffering, causes of suffering, the truth of nirvana, liberation, and the truth of the path. Now, in a way, what I just mentioned about karma, cause and effect, that's already part of the first 2 truths. The 4 truths are in 2 pairs: suffering and its cause, liberation and its cause. So with the belief in karma, cause and effect, that's the second truth, the causes of suffering. So the first type of ignorance, of rejection, is not to appreciate the hurt in ourselves, in our fellow beings, not to be sensitive to it, and then not to understand where it's coming from, the truth of suffering and the truth of the causes of suffering. In this second type of aberrant view, not accepting the four truths, we're looking at the overall picture, not just suffering and its causes, but the fact that there can be an end to that suffering. It's not just, oh well, that's life, let's make the best of it because there's no other choice. There is another choice. Our mind can be free. And not only can it be free 100%, there is a whole path, a journey, where bit by bit we can free up and free up more the prisons of thought and feelings and actions that we are caught up in through habit. So the third truth is to let us know about liberation, and in particular the liberation of a Buddha, where one's mind is so brilliant with qualities to help others, to help each other. The truth of nirvana, of liberation, the third truth. And then the fourth truth, how do you get there? The truth of the path, the Dharma path. So this second type of rejection or aberrant view is that even though one's heard about these basic truths of existence, it's not, again, not, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I believe in the Four Noble Truths. It's so much broader. It's about life. All around us there's suffering. So why is it happening? And then in all of that there is a possibility of liberation. And there are those who have achieved it. The Four Noble Truths. The Four Truths of realized beings. The third type of aberrant view is to do with the refuges, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Again, it sounds so Buddhist, but if you look deeply, and there is a whole series of talks I did on Buddha, a series on Dharma, a series on Sangha, and a series on refuge. You might want to check them out. It's not, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I have to follow what the Buddha, the person in India, said. It's that I'm a human being. And I want the very best for myself and others. So what's the very best? What do we turn to? Who was the best, the finest, the most brilliant human being who ever graced this planet? The wisest, the most accomplished, the kindest, the most peaceful, the most liberated. So we turn to the very best. And then we turn to the Buddha to bring out the best in ourselves. But Buddha cannot zonk you and make you okay. We have to do the work ourselves. Buddha teaches us. So there is the Dharma. So again, it's not the Dharma, the Buddhist ideas as a religion. The whole reason we call Buddha Buddha, the one who woke up, is because he realized what's going on all around us. He woke up to things as they are, as they function. He simply reported back, like scientists report back what they find. They don't invent, they find. So the Dharma is the clearest, purest truth about things and how they work. We turn to that, the truth of the way things are. And then, because we are not alone in this, because this is a well-trodden path, we turn to those with experience, with understanding, the Sangha, to help us. There's such deep meaning in the three refuges, such universal meaning, not a parochial, limited Buddhist religion meaning, a universal meaning. And that's what we have to understand with this point about this third non-virtuous karma of mind. the universality of what we're dealing with, and how we are harmonizing, tuning into more and more the truth, and how going away from that can be so damaging for us. We have to think about it a lot. Of all these karmas of mind, of all of these three non-virtuous karmas of view, of aberrant view, then the worst is to reject karma, cause and effect. And although I don't want to spend a long time on it, you know, these days there are some people among the secular Buddhists, they call themselves, who put in question the Buddha's teaching of karma, cause and effect. I have no time for them. I don't even know how they can call themselves Buddhists. When we look at the life of Buddha, we see those who came to him and who took him as their teacher did so because he had it. When we see meeting after meeting, whether it's with the 5 ascetics who'd been with him for 6 years before, who knew him well, and then re-met him after the Enlightenment, and they were just wowed by his presence. When we look afterwards, as some very great gurus like the 3 Kasyapa brothers come to him, they are overwhelmed by his being. And then again with Shariputra, Moggallana. Now, I missed the Buddha by a couple of 1,000 years. I missed Gampopa by 1,000 years. But I did meet the 16th Karmapa. I spent a lot of time with him, and I met the 17th Karmapa and great teachers in our lineage. They have it. They are it. It is beyond question. They shine it so beautifully. My interest in Dharma is I want to be like them. And they say, all of them, without any doubt, the whole heart of the Buddha's teaching is karma, cause and effect, past lives and future lives. And to reject that is called the thorn-like view. It's like a poisonous thorn that gets in your flesh and then infects and gives you septicemia and can kill you. It is the worst, the most damaging. So, how can you call it Buddhism without a belief in karma, cause and effect, past lives and future lives? It seems ridiculous. So please don't get led astray by those kind of things. Now, with these 3 non-virtuous karmas, we have the usual 3 consequences. The very worst, if we really reject angrily, violently, time after time after time, these views on karma, the 4 truths, what are the true refuges, then that can cause us to be reborn an animal. Animals can be very nice, as we've seen before, heard before. They can be so kind, faithful. But they can't understand a teaching like this. They can't do that work on themselves that we can do. They don't have the possibility. So you could end up like that through taking your mind so out of harmony with the way things are. Then it says, even if one is reborn a human being, then this tendency to ignorance and to not being able to connect with the truth and what is meaningful and the refuges and so on will persist. So if you do meet Dharma, you'll have trouble. You're going to have to struggle. You'll feel the goodness, one part of you, and another part is fighting against it. And then there's an environmental impact where there's a great poverty in the environment. The opposite, if you cultivate right view, good view, is that in your future life, then you will take to the Dharma like a duck to water. It will be so familiar. When you meet it again, it will be like coming home. You'll want to drink it like nectar. It will make such sense to you, and it will help you live your life in a very positive, constructive way, whereby you can grow and make a better and better future for yourself. And it will inform your speech. It will inform your physical actions. You'll be a light in this world, a friend for others. So we need, in the positive side of mind action, to really not just understand the notions to do with karma, to do with the Four Truths, and to do with the refuges, but to really penetrate their meaning so we feel them in our bones, in our DNA, in our heart. Thank you. I think that's enough for today. As always, I wish you the very, very best of practice. And today's talk is about such an important point. Please do give it the time. Savor it. Stay with it until it makes deep, deep sense. Thank you very, very much indeed. Speak again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.